Hello, my name is host Eric. I'm the host talking with famous people, and today we're talking metacognition, self-development, personal change, and growth. Today, I want you to grow a little bit. How tall are you right now? 5'11"? Today's the day you become 6 feet. At any rate, my basic contention here is that self-development is something that I used to just make fun of the very idea of it. It just seemed ridiculous. Like people talking about like self-help or whatever, it just seems silly. Um, when I got into personality typing, I realized that most people tended to see it through this lens of self-development, not simply through a lens of explanation of why I'm so crazy, which is basically the initial my initial relationship with it is, aha, see, this is why I'm so crazy. And that was somewhat, it was very relieving, I would say, to know that there's a reason and there's other people out there like me and I'm not alone. I'm not just a sort of freak who has no self-discipline and, all the other bad things that one thinks about ENTPs. And which I think ENTPs are unusually prone to think about themselves, although some of them manage to bypass that more successfully than others, I think. At any rate, as I started making more YouTube videos and encountered more of this self-development notion online, I became something of a, what would you call it, enthusiast of it, or an advocate of it. I've seen a lot of change in myself over time, and I'd like to think most of it has been for the better. I'm not as callous as perhaps I once was, and I'm not as quick to judge. I think I'm generally less quick to lay the hammer on people, and nicer and more likable, and maybe better at giving space when I'm talking with people. And to demonstrate that, let me open the floor up now to everybody to ask this question. What's your opening salvo on self-development, your own relationship with it, your own change of opinion over time regarding self-development, stuff like that? Let's start at the top with, if this person's ready, you can always pass if you'd like. Carolyn, do you have any comments on that? If you have a microphone, it would be great. If not, that's okay. How about casual INTP?
Yes.
Do you have any thoughts on self-development, your own history with it, your own relationship with it, or other things like that?
Well, I don't know, man. I'm trying to use MBTI for that.
You're trying to use MBTI for self-development?
Yes, and better understanding people. You know, like like yeah, I understand now how some people react some ways or different than I am, and why I'm like not like everyone else.
Well, and I think for INTP especially, self-development will tend to come in the form of understanding other people better because you've got that fourth slot FE.
Hmm.
Ergo, do you have any thoughts on this? Barry? LC? Mega Bro? You got your mic on. That's a good sign. You got thoughts?
Well, I've done a lot of research, but I'm still in the researching part phase.
But what about the self-development phase? Is it for the purpose of developing yourself, or is it for some other purpose?
So, when you're developing yourself, you can figure out what works and then help other people.
I see. Okay. What areas, when you started doing this research, did you go into it with a specific thing like, I'd like to improve this about myself, or improve this understanding about something, or what?
Well, it wasn't particularly focused. I saw that. I don't know.
Okay. You want me to
Yeah,
come
I'm
back?
not ready to.
I'll come back to you. Sasuke Uchiha, I'm so happy you're here. I hope you don't try to use Sharingan on me, but it is really good to see you, and you know, you're badass and everything. Sasuke, you got any thoughts on this?
First, thanks. Thoughts on this? First, I'm from Germany.
Hello.
Personal development. When I think of that, I think of, for example, training the body, becoming better in sports, or
Okay, so then are you somebody who is an NI Dom?
and I would think I'm an NFP seconds. And,
I, you think you're an INFP?
yeah.
Okay, that's interesting then that you think the physical stuff as self-development. I would normally associate that with somebody who's got SE in the 4th slot, but it could possibly be SE in the 7th slot as well. That would make sense if you're an INTP. But for, oh, that would be the same for an INFP actually. Yeah, that would make sense. 7th slot SC seeing physical activity as self-development. Lorenz Walker, any thoughts on self-development?
Well, with self-development, I think about the cultivation of the mind and the body simultaneously, even though I'll probably procrastinate in both areas. I think self-development is like the most important thing that there is, because we could grow ourselves, gain higher skills, and then we could use those to help others, and we could fight for people that can't fight for themselves.
A lot of things seem to come back down to altruism at the end, right? Which is weird,
Yeah.
but there's a sort of
Kinda has
sense
to.
that I mean, well, and the reason is there's an energy of reward that comes from reciprocity, like hooking up others and getting hooked up in return, and being a part of both sides of that I like, that I think a lot of us like, and especially those of us who maybe don't have FI so consciously represented, we find a way to access our own feelings in that regard. Now, where is the woman bringing me tacos? That's what I want to know. I need a woman bringing me tacos right now too. It's not fair that only Taylor has women bringing him tacos.
Come visit, she'll bring you some tacos too.
Taylor, you got any thoughts on self-development stuff here that we were talking here?
I like it. I mean, I don't like that phrase. It sounds douchey. But I like, that's how I got into MBTI actually. Was trying to figure out, I thought I was trying to figure out women because I was getting custody of my 1-year-old daughter, divorcing my ex-wife, and in charge of an office full of women, which is a lot different situation than being in charge of a warehouse full of men. But yeah, I was trying to figure out women basically.
And
At that point.
did it work? Did you figure them out?
It helped. I think I understand like the spectrum of emotions doesn't just go from angry to happy and neutral. That was a big moment.
That's all they display.
Huh?
But that's all they display.
Oh no. There's a whole range of mysterious bullshit in there.
Dude, they're either happy, they're mad, or they're thinking about something else.
Well, sometimes they are feeling rejected or underappreciated or have a problem but don't want you to fix the problem. They just want you to know about the problem and care about the problem. Care about the problem enough to listen to it, but not enough to fix it. That's a weird juggling or balancing act. At first thing that I read was men are from Mars and women are from Venus, which is one of those like, don't let anyone see me having this book.
Was it helpful?
Yeah, I mean that's where I learned about that weird thing where girls want to. I mean, it's not just girls, but it mostly is. Talk about a problem without having you do anything.
Well, I'd like you to say, "Oh my gosh, are you okay?" I think they'd like that.
See?
No, that's what they want.
Problem?
That's what they want you to say, Taylor. They want you to say, "Oh my gosh, are you okay?"
I know. I learned that from men are from Mars and women are from Venus, but I had to test it for a solid like 2 weeks before I actually accepted that is a thing.
I call that empathy porn.
I like that
Yes.
name, empathy porn.
Explain.
Well, you're not trying to get real empathy where someone's helping you. You're trying to get porn of empathy.
There,
Right.
I'm wanting the attention.
You want to get all the sights and sounds of empathy, right? Without the actual thing. All the sights and sounds of empathy. Oh my gosh, are you okay? Do you want a hug? Oh, sweetie.
See, that shit does no good for me.
You know what?
And someone says, "I'm really sorry. I'm going to pray for you." Get the fuck out of here.
I gotta tell you, man, with my recent dog dying, I felt differently about it. When my friend last time, he's a genuine good friend, old friend and everything, said, hey, I'm really sorry about your dog, came to give me a hug. I felt gratified to have a friend who cared, and it's just that I think, Taylor, the thing that's, you probably haven't experienced serious loss, and I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but my experience is, for me, I managed to somehow avoid it for a long-ass time.
I mean, I'm pretty good at having no repercussions for my actions.
And none of your actions have any consequences? I'm familiar with that mantra, Taylor. I
Right.
tell you, it doesn't work forever.
What if I have any repercussions?
Okay, so you want to explain the distinction between repercussions and consequences?
Consequence sounds just no effect on anybody. Repercussions means that I can basically do what I like. It's shit that people would normally get turned over for. It's sustainability and douchebaggery.
The rules don't apply to me. Is that what you're saying, Taylor?
I'm saying the rules are not set up for extroverted intuitives.
That's true. That's true. I mean, I think the reason is because, by definition, we are rejecting the way it's been done conventionally. And so, the status quo, the rules and such, are going to emphasize specific behaviors that are the standard operating procedure that one's supposed to adhere to. And by definition, we are trying to come up with things that are different than that.
But the mechanisms of consequence or punishment or repercussion for violating the norms are also set up in kind of a past tense, red-handed or past tense way. I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Whimsical Kit Kats. We're talking self-development. Do you have any thoughts on your experience with self-development as a term, as an action, as a behavior, or as a goal? Whether one ought to desire to improve oneself or whether one ought to desire to be okay with how one is? Those are the questions placed before you. Okay. Well, it's appearing that Kit Kats has no thoughts on the matter at the moment, or is perhaps otherwise occupied. Does anybody else have any last thoughts on self-development or any other additional thoughts they'd like to add on their relationship with this notion?
I think self-development should be done for positive motivations where you want something rather than negative motivations where you're trying to avoid something.
Okay. So self-development should not be a way to avoid ever having to use my SI like it used to be for me, right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, you could approach SI in a positive way, or you could approach it in a negative way. If the negative way would be like, I can't screw up on this thing. You know, I gotta make sure I do this right. And a positive way would be, hey, let's experiment with all these techniques that everybody else is already using, and I could just copy that. And, you know, it's the negative makes you feel bad, you know?
Right. It's a good point, Mega Bro. Very well and simply put. Placing heavy expectations on yourself not to screw up is not a good way to either do it well, nor is it a good way to feel good about it no matter how you do. So I think that's a good point. Any other thoughts from anybody on self-development? All right then, and with that, I bid you adieu from Talking with Famous People headquarters here in sunny Southern California, where the Santa Ana winds are blowing the melodies of truth past this kitchen. I, host Eric, and the accumulated famous peoples and hosts say goodbye, good day, and good evening.